everyone, welcome along to our Yin yoga session. So if you are new to Yin, then welcome along to your first Yin class. Those of you that have joined me before, welcome back. And remembering that in our Yin practice we want to go about 80-90% of your full stretch when you go into your posture. So ideally you take your full posture and then rein it back in a little bit, and then hold that posture and start to focus on the breath, but I'll guide you through every posture that we're going to do. So if you want to have music playing in the background or some candles lit, or you've maybe not got your props ready, then just press pause and go and get yourself organised and then come back onto the mat. So today's class you're really going to need a couple of blocks and a blanket. If you have the little knee supports, you might want to have them close by as well. Alright. So we're going to start just by sitting in our posture, our seated posture, to just get ourselves ready for the practice. So just bring ourselves into the room. So trying to make sure that you've no distractions going on around about you. You've chose a room that you can be peaceful for the next hour and preferably undisturbed. So sitting up nice and tall, crossing the legs or extending the legs out in front of you, whatever is most comfortable for you. Placing your arms down by your sides, or placing your hands onto your thighs with the palms facing upwards to try and draw the energy to the body. If you're feeling like you're quite energetic at the moment, you've had quite a hectic schedule and you want to change it, then press the hands down into the thighs or press the hands down into the floor. From here, stack the shoulders up over the hips, close over the eyes, or let the eyes look softly in front of you. So try not to stare at anything that's in front of you. So a soft eye or closed eyes. Shoulders over the hips, and the neck is an extension from the spine. So we don't want that chin sticking out in front of you. You want to be quite in alignment from the crown of the head, so back of the head, working its way down towards the base of the spine. Then start to breathe in and out through the nose. So taking gentle breaths in and out through the nose. Closing over the mouth if that's okay for you, and just letting that steadiness of the breath start to come in and out through the nose. And as you start to breathe, think about the connection of your legs against the floor. Think about the length that you've created through the spine for the area around the lungs, the chest, the ribcage. Just a big space here for the breath to come and go naturally. Looking at the shoulders and trying to create a space between the ears and the shoulders. Dropping those shoulders down and back, and allowing that steadiness to come with the breath. So using the exhale to take away any tension from the body. And if you feel like you need a nod with the head or a shrug with the shoulders, then bring that into the body. Starting to feel that you're a bit more grounded, a bit more ready for your Yin practice. So we're focusing today on the front of the body, stretching it out, so it's a kind of more back bending sequence, that the front of the body is going to be stretched out. So a big stretch across the chest, across the shoulders, across the upper back, And this is really good for those of us that sit at desks quite a lot of the time, or quite rounded with the shoulders, so we're trying to open up today. We're going to do our wrist stretch first of all. So our yin practice today, we're going to hold our postures for 3.5 minutes. I'll guide you through it, but again, you make any adjustments that you need to through the practice and come out of anything that feels uncomfortable for you. So I'm not in the room to guide you, you need to listen to how the body is feeling and use your props in whatever way is best for you. So with the wrists, we do it on the knees. Again, you might want to use blocks to rest the bottom onto, or your cushion between the bottom and the heels. So we're starting first of all with the hands facing forwards, and then walking the hands out to the sides, and then directing the fingers as close as they can towards, facing towards you. So some of you might be out at the sides, some of you might get the hands facing round towards you. And then you're going to shift the weight back so the bottom comes towards the heels, and you're feeling the stretch starting to come up the inside of the arms. So the palm of the hand and then the inside of the arms is where we're starting to feel the stretch here. Trying to remember that you're not letting it go to that full stretch, that you're constantly waiting on the time to run out, that you are comfortable here, and that you start to settle with the breath here. So tuning into the breath. If you are not comfortable, you can bring the hands to either side of the body and rest back. Yes, it is a little bit easier. Again, you're going to make the adjustment as to where you feel is best for you. So you're focusing on the breath, and if it works for you, you're using the exhale to take the tension away from the arms and the wrists. So you're drawing that breath with the stretch, and you're using the exhale to free up the tension away from the body and let the body start to settle into this posture. And as you're here, you're trying to take the facial muscles and ask them to soften and relax, and trying to allow the shoulders and the neck to soften and relax as well. Taking one more breath in this posture, and then as you start to breathe out, start to shift the weight forward. So take your time to move out of this. It does become a wee bit irritated as you start to move and you start to feel that fresh blood coming back into the hands and the arms. So take your time, bring yourself forward, and then start to maybe roll the wrists. So start to bring a little bit of movement into the wrists. Okay, wiggle the fingers. Give the arms a wee rub. Okay, from here we're going to move into our melting heart posture. So we're moving towards the back of the mat, hips are up over the knees, hands are coming in front of you, shoulder width apart. Walking the hands as far forward as is comfortable for you to then dip the chest towards the floor, resting the forehead onto the block or resting the forehead onto the floor. Hips are staying nice and tall over the knees so that you're feeling that stretch coming from the navel. So from your belly button all the way up the chest. You can start to use props, so you can start to bring cushions or blocks underneath the chest if you need to. And get you a little bit higher, so wherever you feel you need to be is perfect for you. Remembering that you're not full stretched, that you have reined it back a little bit, and that you're taking your time to settle here before you start to work on the breath. If the shoulders are it's too strong for the shoulders or they're too tight, then start to walk the elbows towards the body and come more onto the forearms. And then taking that nice steady breath through the body. So being gentle with the breath, not forcing it to be of any length, just constantly breathing in and out through the nose and making any adjustments that you feel you need to, but you will start to feel it settle slightly into the posture. Taking one nice big breath here. And then on the exhale, start to push the hands and then walk the hands back towards the body. Maybe taking a child's pose, letting the shoulders rest, or maybe having a wee bit of a circular motion through the shoulders, whatever you feel you need. And giving the arms a little rub, or the front of the chest a little rub. From here, we're going to come to lie on our tummies. And we're going to come into the Sphinx posture. So some of you might want to do it just resting the forearms on the floor, elbows directly underneath your shoulders. Others might want to use the blocks. So you might be coming to rest the forearms onto the blocks with the shoulders directly underneath, on top of the elbows directly underneath the shoulders. And then just making a decision as to how you feel. Once we get into the posture, then those of you that have got quite good back bends might want to press into the arms and lift up slightly to make it a bit more intense, stretching through the front. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So legs are hip distance apart. As I said, elbows directly underneath the shoulders. Rest spreading the fingers as wide as you can. And then have the legs hip distance apart so that the lower half of the body, give it a little wiggle, it can come into the posture here and be quite relaxed, so the floor is supporting it here. Looking straight ahead, making sure that the shoulders are not around the ears, that you have lifted up and you're looking straight ahead, so nice and supported through those forearms. If this feels too strong and you feel lifted too high, just take it a little bit wider so that you're lower down, okay? Ideally ideally elbows underneath the shoulders. And as I said, you might choose to be up on the blocks as well. That's an option that you can take that's going to lift you up a little bit higher, but keep you supported. Okay, the other option you have here, if you choose, is to spread the fingers wide, take the weight into the hands and lift the elbows off of the floor, still keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So this is our seal posture, a little bit stronger than the Sphinx. If at all you're feeling any sort of pinching or soreness into the lower back, then please come back down to the posture before. So don't hold anything that feels uncomfortable. Softness through the facial muscles. Feeling that stretch across the front of the chest, working its way down towards the kidneys. Slowly starting to lower yourself to the floor, dropping the elbows out to the side, resting the head onto the hands, bending the knees and then just allowing the heels to kick left and right like little window wipers, easing into the lower back, easing into the hips. And just making sure that you're feeling okay before we come up, having a wee wiggle side to side, and then pushing back onto your knees and coming towards the front of the mat this time. So we're going to move into our saddle posture. So our saddle posture, we're stretching up the front of the thighs this time. So ideally, bottom's coming through the centre and the heels are on the outside of the bottom. If your thighs are quite tight, then you might want to stick the block or the cushion underneath the bottom, again as high as is comfortable for you, feeling that stretch across the front of the thighs. Some of you might like to keep one block underneath the bottom, thighs are stretching, and bring the hands behind, and then have a wee lean back. As long as no knees start to lift, that's fine, so you're holding yourself here, feeling the stretch across the front of the thighs, drawing those shoulders back, so opening again through the front of the body. So we're starting to focus into the front of the thighs here, up to the solar plexus chakra, so at the base of the body here. Others might want to drop down onto the forearms. If you're choosing to do that, again, you might want to bring some cushioning into behind the back for the body to start to rest onto. And again, as long as the knees don't lift up. So if the knees start to lift up, then you're went too far and you need to bring it back to the posture before. Okie dokie, so As you are in a position here, I want you to start to breathe in and out through the nose. And I want you to try and allow the tension, so quite a big muscle group from the hip flexors all the way down into the quads here, down across the knees. So making sure that you're at that 80% of the full stretch, that you are comfortable enough here. And then you're going to let the breath start to come and go quite steady. If your feet are irritated, you might want to get those little cushions or a little bit of a blanket or something and prop it up under the ankles to protect the feet here. Some of your feet don't particularly like going this way, so nice and open through the chest, allowing where you are to be here and nice and supported, and then let that breath come and go nice and steady. Hopefully starting to find some comfort in this posture that's allowing the muscles to have a stretch, but also the surrounding areas, so the big nerve area around the hips and the tendons and the ligaments and all that fascia that surrounds the blood supply and the muscles, just allowing time for that to become less rigid, that stiff feeling. It's becoming a bit more jelly-like, which is what we want. Slowly start to push yourself up from this posture. So if you have, lay flat out, come up onto the elbows. If you're on your hands, just start to press yourself back up. And then take yourself into a slouchy forward bend position. So allow the chin to tuck in towards the chest, push the middle of the back backwards, and then start to feel a nice wee stretch across the back. So giving the lower back a little bit of a rub if it needs it. From here, we're going to start to come on to our frog posture. So we're going to come to the inner thighs now. So again, just moving forwards and back. Don't worry, I've got the timer. Moving forward and back just to ease into the hips. Okay, so turning lengthways on your mats. Those of you that have these little cushions for your knees, a good idea to use these, because the knees, I feel, are the tender part in this posture. I'm also putting out my blanket for this one as well. Okie dokie. So we're coming on to our knees, and then we're opening our knees as wide as is comfortable for us. Okay, so it's the beauty of yin. You've got all these props you need to play about with, so just take your time. So the knees are coming out as wide as is comfortable for you, and then you want your toes to point out to the sides. Okay, so ideally ankles in alignment with your knees. Then from here we shift the weight forwards. So we go as far forwards as is comfortable for us just now, leaning into the hands. And then we keep the back nice and long. Now, as you start to push the bottom towards the back of your room, you'll start to notice that pressure building up through the inner thighs and into the hips. Now, I don't mean pressure, I mean more of the intensity of the stretch. That's probably a better word. The intensity starts to build up. And that's where you need to hold it. So you need to hold it wherever you are comfortable that you're at about that 80-90% of the stretch. Keep the back nice and long. Ideally, toes point out to the sides. And then you're looking at the floor in front of you so the neck stays nice and long. And that's where you need to use the supports. So get yourself up on your blocks, on your cushions. Just rest either onto the floor, wherever. Everybody's hips are completely different. Some of you might be leaning quite far forwards, that you're not really pushing that bottom too far back because it's quite strong. How about that for the word today? It's quite strong into the hips. So try and get yourself at a comfortable position. You can find a nice stretch, but you are comfortable here to start to use the breath and settle into the posture. Try and keep those facial muscles soft. No tension through the head or the neck. So as well as the muscles in the inner thigh, there's a large ligament area and nerve area around the hips that we're starting to work in here. So you will start to feel that. And as we move from this posture, so start to take another breath and move forwards, you will start to notice that blood supply replenishing into the hip area, and you'll start to feel a kind of warm feeling. So slowly lean forwards and then bring the knees closer together. And then sit back and give yourself a wee rub. Well done. Okie dokie. From here, we're going to move into our reverse prayer. So we're going to come to sit with the legs extended out in front of us, or with the legs crossed. I'm going to do this not facing the camera so you can see, because it is from behind, okay? So I want you to sit on your cushion, or just make sure you're nice and comfortable, either up on your blocks, legs crossed or legs extended out in front of you. So if your hips have had enough from the frog, probably best to have them extended out in front of you. 3 options for the arms for reverse prayer. First one, knuckles to knuckles. Quite low down the back depending on how you're feeling. Higher up towards the middle of the back. Hands to the opposite elbow, holding it here. Again, doesn't matter what way round the arms are. And you're drawing your elbows back with your shoulder blades coming towards each other, so you're open through the chest. Final full posture is the reverse prayer. So hands come in the prayer position, and you bring your hands up the middle of the back, elbows drawn back and feeling that stretch across the front of the chest. So wherever is comfortable for you, take this position. Looking straight ahead, so try and keep the neck nice and long, try and keep that chin tucked in. so that the neck is an extension of the spine. And then you have to switch the core on for this one, I'm afraid, to try and keep you up nice and tall. Drawing those shoulder blades towards each other, feeling the stretch across the front of the chest. Nice and steady with the breath. Feel that sense of calmness coming through the body. So you might start to feel a tiredness coming through the arms and they start to drop down. If you can hold the posture, keep it there, but if your arms become tired, then just listen to how they're feeling. Remember, yoga's all about your body. It's not about the perfect posture, it's whatever your shoulders, your chest is feeling today and what it needs. And again, if you feel you've went too strong in the posture, then just revert it to the posture beforehand, the first stage. Okay, let's gently start to release the hands and have a wee slouch through the spine. Maybe give the hands a rub, circle the wrists. Whatever you feel the body needs. Okay, from here we're going to come into our lizard. We have the option to do the reverse lizard where we reach behind, but I'll guide you through it all, okay, so everybody's going to get a benefit from this. Alright, so bringing your blocks to the front of your mat. And then taking away your blanket if you feel it's going to slide for you, okay, so I'm just putting mine to the side. Coming through first of all with the right leg, so I'm going to bring the prop underneath my left knee, and then I'm going to have my knee as far away from my hip as is comfortable for me, so my left knee is away from my hip, and then my right foot I'm going to walk it through so that my right knee comes over my ankle, okay, so you're in this low lunge position. Blocks come to either side and you keep yourself nice and long through the spine. Now this is our traditional low lunge posture. From here we're going to move into the low lizard, so we're going to walk the foot out the width of the mat and then bring the hands into the inside, so your foot is now at the edge of the mat with the knee over the ankle, and you've still got this stretch through the back. So this is posture number one. If you want to go lower, you can get rid of the blocks And you can just rest the hands down on the floor as long as you can try and keep the back nice and long. Option 3, you're going to lower down onto the forearms. And as you lower down onto the forearms, you're keeping long through the spine. You have the other option, you can rest onto the blocks at their lower height here, which is a bit of an in-betweeny. Actually suiting me today, so I'm going to stay here. Now, if your right hip is feeling that you want to go a little bit deeper, you can roll onto the edge of the right foot and drop the knee out to the side. Otherwise, you're just keeping that foot on the floor with the knee up towards the ceiling. Now remember, it's not at that irritated stage that you are comfortable here, okay? Some of you might choose that you want to bring a twist into the body, so you want to turn and reach behind you. And then you might want to bring that foot up towards you and stretch here. Now in yin, it's really hard to bring that to a position. I feel that you're comfortable with the breath and you're starting to settle down. But if your hips are feeling great, I'm not demonstrating today because I'm finding it too tight through my quads, but if you want to go into that full twisted lizard posture, then you're more than welcome to our twisted dragon, shall I say, in our yin practice. Wherever you have chosen, stay with the breath. Stay long through the spine, whether you're upright or lying down. Okay, let's gently bring ourselves back up. So let's move ourselves back from the position. If you're twisted round to the back, come round to the front. If you have your foot on its edge, come back to flat foot. Everybody start to push up, so you're coming up to that upright position, and then shift the weight back, so you take the weight out of the right leg and allow that right leg to come round to meet the left. Have whatever you feel you need. So some of you might want to take a little child's pose, some of you might want to take a little hip circles or a down dog, or just rocking back and forth, whatever you feel your body would prefer, then go for it. And then from there we're going to come round to the other side. So take your little cushions, move them over to the other side. Back knee is quite far away from the front, from the hip. Okay, so then step forward with the left leg. Bring that left leg in front. Hands at either side first of all. So your front knee is over the ankle and your back knee is away from the hip, long through the spine. So this is our first position here, which is our traditional low lunge. If you're okay with this, then you might want to walk the foot out the width of the mat, bring the hands to the inside, long through the spine, propped up into your blocks. Option 1. Option 2, we bring the hands to the floor. Oops. Option 3, we either lower down onto the forearms on the floor, or we lower down onto the forearms onto the blocks. So hips are square to the floor, nice and comfortable here. We're not feeling that irritated position, we are comfortable. And for those of you that's hips are feeling good, we might want to rock onto the edge of that left foot and drop the knee out to the side. As I said, on the other side you have the option to be up nice and tall and twist and reach to the back. So you're just adding a twist. As I said before, it's quite hard, I feel, to get the yin feeling out of this, to get the nice comfortable feeling out of this. So I just want to take you to the full posture, but I give you guidance, shall we say. Okay. As always, making sure that you are comfortable here and that you're nice and steady with the breath. So quite deep into that sacral chakra again, here the energy store around the hips. Trying to keep yourself comfortable here, that you are allowing the time to pass and the body to benefit from this stretch, that you're not feeling that you can't wait, that the mind's racing, that the body's irritated. Take all of that away from the body if you start to feel you've went here. On your next exhale, let's start to push yourself back up the way. So bring that foot to the floor if you've rocked out to the side. Push yourself up and then shift yourself back before you bring that left foot round to meet the right. And again, just treating it the same way as you did on the other side. So have a bit of movement through the hips. Start to give yourself a little bit of rocking left and right. Take a down dog, whatever you feel you need. And then bring yourself to lie on your back. We're going to come into a spinal twist. So I'm sticking the blanket back out to keep it nice and comfortable. So with this spinal twist, we're going to lie on our back. Some of you might want to have a block for the foot. I'm going to just rest on the back of my head. Okie dokie. So back of the head is resting onto your cushion or the floor. Arms are extended out to the side with the palms facing up towards the ceiling. Bring your left foot and bring your left foot into the middle, okay, so that it's not over at the left side, it's more in the middle. And then either tuck your right leg right beside it, so right ankle and knee are together, dropping over to the left, or your right leg crosses over the left, okay? So that just is going to make the spinal twist a bit more compact, a bit more tighter. If you're feeling the middle of the back has had enough and you're quite happy just to have the legs together, then go for it. From here, we're going to drop the knee all the way over to the left side, and then just let the legs land where they are. So if you feel like it's quite high and you're kind of dangling mid-air, they might want to bring that block underneath the knee, underneath the thigh, wherever it lands. So trying to keep the right shoulder towards the floor. And you feel like you've twisted from the middle of the body, so it's not all leaning out to the left. And that's why I said to bring the left foot towards the centre before you twist it over. So as you twist over to the side, you're feeling that wrapping sensation around the middle of the back, that twist and squeeze through the middle of the spine, and then a big stretch across the front of the shoulders and into the chest here. So we're starting to stretch more into the chest, into the heart centre chakra, sacral chakra. Yes, we've had a good go at that. So it's more into the chest and then up towards the throat that we're focusing on now. So the energy that comes from these areas of the body. And as I said, be supported by the floor. So allow the body to be supported by the floor, and the nice steadiness to come and go with the breath. Gently bring your head back to centre if you've moved it. Slowly bring your knees back up to centre. And then bring both of the feet to the floor. And maybe window wiper the feet left and right. Bringing your block, if you're using it, over to the right side this time. And then just making any adjustments that you need to. If the arms were feeling uncomfortable, you're starting to feel it across the chest, then you might want to take the cactus arms this time. So you might want to point the fingers back and rest them onto the floor. Again, if they're feeling quite high due to the mobility through the shoulders, then just bring the arms down, tuck the elbows closer towards the body. So right foot comes more centre, left leg either glues onto the side or crosses over, arms are extended out, or the modification if you choose to do so, and then you're going to drop those knees all the way over to the right. So again, you might want to use your block to rest your thigh or your knee onto. Feeling that twist across the middle of the back, again that stretch, possibly feeling it into the hip and then out into the middle of the back, and then feeling that nice stretch across the front of the chest, so working its way up to heart centre again. And then with that head just resting it onto the floor. You can look towards the left hand if you choose to do so, but more importantly just allowing the body to be supported by the floor here. So you're not rigid through the body. It is quite a passive stretch, it's quite a supported stretch here. Nice and steady with that breath. So feeling that sense of calmness through the body as we start to slow the body down further with the supportedness of the floor. You know, as opposed to doing that lizard posture, you were more upright, there was more muscles being worked here. You're getting the chance to completely relax. Bring the head back to centre, then slowly bring the knees up to centre. Again, bringing both feet to the floor, start to window wiper the feet left and right. And from here we're going to move into our final postures, which is going to be our bridge, supported bridge posture. So if you lay on your blanket, it might be an idea to move the blanket so that the feet are on your mat. Bringing your heels so that they're in alignment with the hips. So knees in alignment with the hips, heels in alignment with the hips, so not too narrow with the feet. And then when the heels are as close as they can to the bottom, have your block by your side. Lift the back of the head must rest on the floor, no cushions or anything for the back of the head, so resting on the floor. Squeeze the glutes and lift that bottom as high up as is comfortable for you, and then insert your block. So some of you might choose to use 2 blocks side by side, some of you might want to go up with the 1 block. So you use the block and you adjust it to what level you want to act. So some of you might be quite flat, medium, or some of you might be quite high. So it's resting in that bony part of the back, okay? So it's between the pelvis, it's right at the top of the pelvis, okay, before the glutes. And then from here, yes, the knees have to stay where they are, they've not to drop open, but there's not that sense of strength coming through the thighs here. There is a sense that the block is doing a lot of supporting for you. Arms down by your side, palms face up towards the ceiling, and it's nice and open through the chest with the back of the head resting on the floor. You do have the option to adjust the arms if you want to, so you can lift the arms up and drop them behind you, and that is opening more through the chest, but again that's completely up to you and how you're feeling in the posture. Okay, so don't want you to feel any compression through the neck, any irritable or pins and needles at all through the hands or the neck, and nice opening through the chest here. So this is focusing into throat chakra and the chest, so the heart chakra, and then into the sacral chakras. Our 3 chakras that we have focused on today, where we're building the energy. We're releasing that stagnant energy that's built up, and we're letting the fresh energy start to come into the body, as well as the muscles and the areas around the muscles, ligaments, fascia, blood supply, nerve supply, to have a bit of a release as well here and become a wee bit more fluid. An all-round good yin session has been had. So settle into this last posture, just let the breath come and go through the nostrils. Allow that calming sensation to come through the body. So from here, take the strength back into the legs. Push, lift the pelvis, release the block and start to roll down the spine. From here, I want you to draw the knees in towards the chest and have a little rock back and forth and side to side. So maybe drawing those knees round in a circle. So you're letting the whole of the back have a little massage against the floor. And just check that you go in both directions here. Okay, so as this is an online class and you're in the privacy of your own home, or the calmness of your own home, shall we say, if you want to stay here, just switch the video off and have a few minutes of Shavasana relaxation. Or if you want to go about your day, then come with me, okay? So bring the hands together and warm the hands up. And once you've got a little bit of heat through those hands, start to place the hands over the eyes and blink the eyes open, spread the fingers. Take a big stretch here, so take a big deep breath and have a stretch through the arms. Maybe let the knees rock side to side and roll yourself up to seated. And once you come up to your seat, just spend a couple of moments here giving thanks to yourself for taking time out for your practice. So giving thanks to yourself for looking after you, for taking some time for self-care. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Om Shanti, peaceful breath, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure, and see you all soon.